Hello, hello. Welcome to Ministry of Matriarchy. My name is Ali. It has been a little while since I have read tarot. I am back, starting to get a little bit of energy back and some momentum. It's been a ride, hasn't it? So I'm actually reading for a woman today who is moving on. This is the energy coming through. So I'm speaking to someone today, man or woman, but I work with women. So I'm gonna say woman. Moving on, passion ignited. There's a knowing in you, a burning, but there's a stuckness about the energy. So you may be restricted financially or in like a desolation. I just want to get a little bit more on this. Who is this that I'm speaking to and what's coming through? Take what resonates and leave the rest. Some of these readings, some of it, this is collective, a lot of collective energy is what I pick up on, and everything's interconnected in the world of quantum energy. The feminine energies in particular at the moment are going through a big awakening and a big transition. So there's a lot going on for the feminine. There's a lot going on for the masculine as well, but I'm speaking to the feminine. I work with the feminine. I work with women. Shadow. So big initiation and big purge, I'm hearing. I'm in this with you. So it doesn't feel like a specific woman or group that this feels like a collective energy that I'm channeling through for the feminine and what the feminine's moving through off the back of the Libra full moon and everything going direct in Aries, like this passion ignited. It's like, I know what is not working for me anymore, what does not bring me energy or joy or ignite me in the heart space. But I don't really know yet where I'm moving to, and probably like looking at your old self, or looking at a shadow of yourself. I'm kind of getting like an energy of something fading away, or you're looking at a version. This is what I'm seeing. What they're showing me is you're looking at a version of you that is no longer there and it's fading away. So you may be looking back, or you may be looking at yourself. It's a big change, big change, big transformation. Deciding what parts of you to keep and what parts need to be left behind. So let's have a look. Trapped in fear, choose wisely. Okay. So trapped in fear, choose wisely. All right. So this sounds like a discernment, going through an initiation around discernment and boundaries. So you may have had your boundaries overridden in the past. You may have had an issue with leaky boundaries or with over accommodation, with overgiving, with overfunctioning. And that has created some trauma for you. So this initiation is about, and this is why this is blocked, right? Why nothing's coming in for you, because divine, spirit, God, however you refer to however you have your relationship with the divine, doesn't matter where you sit, what your beliefs are. This is just the general collective energy coming through. They're not going to bring you something, your divine blessings, your abundance, your like destined path or whatever it is, or your manifestations. They're not going to bring that to you if your nervous system can't hold it, or if you're going to sabotage it. So this is why you're sitting in this stagnancy. There's this kind of, okay, well, it's like a desolation, right? It's so that you can confront this and look at this old version of you and look at where it's like reviewing. You're being held in it, or have been held in it for quite some time, to review how you've shown up, and the energies that you've entertained. So I just got psychotic. So before I started this reading, this might be just relevant for one person. It might be just something specific coming through. But before I started this reading, I saw, and it was quite trigger warning, it was quite violent. I was seeing a woman on the ground being kicked, and I just got the word psychotic. So if you're moving on from something like that, you will have been held in like an energetic bubble in isolation. So spirit will put you in isolation to protect you, to protect your energy, and so that you can heal. Yeah, stand your ground and learn your boundaries. Stand your ground. Learn to sit in your own energy and hold your boundaries, and also to clear your energy from that. And if that's you, I'm so sorry that you've been through that. I'm so sorry you've experienced that. That should never ever happen, ever. So I feel that if whoever I'm speaking to, you're out and you're just being held in this. For the rest of you, for the collective, whatever that is for you, that could be something figurative. It could be a metaphor. You feel like you've been like kicked when you were down, or you've been absolutely battered, maybe emotionally, psychologically. It's brought you wisdom. It's brought you wisdom. It's brought you into a higher discernment. Yeah, see triumph. So you've gotten triumph over something, and this is about where we overlook uh, our own intuitive nudges to see the good in another, or we over accommodate, or we ignore red flags in others. Yeah. So it's time to move into a different way of being. Okay. So let's get some tarot. If you are a person who has experienced any abuse, anything like that, emotional, mental, physical, any kind of abuse, it is not okay. It should never be tolerated, and help is out there. Okay, I hope you're getting the support that you need. It's happening way too often. Why did I pick up that deck? This might be an issue for someone. I don't know why I picked up that deck. That's really weird. You may be experiencing this. You may have been in addiction, recovering from addiction, and that cycle may have been a part of that. So if that's you, that might be a confirmation or a validation of what you've been going through. I feel like Witch's Tarot is what we're going to use. So we're going to get some messages through for this particular woman or this collective who are moving on from a situation, but are feeling stuck. What is the message coming through? What is the guidance here? Some best. Whatever you've been through is really brutal. It's been brutal. And it's about boundaries. It's about boundaries and what you'll tolerate, because you're sure as hell not going to tolerate that ever again. It's over, boo. That is over. That season of your life is over. Never again. Never again. So it's about now moving into a higher way of being. I cannot even make that up. Look at that Ace of Wands. That's a new start, passionate new beginning. That's off on a new adventure. That's transformation. That's fire energy right there. Ace of Wands. Beautiful. That's like the phoenix rising from the ashes. That's you. That's you. That's hard work. Into the 10 of Pentacles. So into community and balance and abundance, prosperity, into something that uplifts everybody, into something where you're not the one holding everything together for the sake of harmony. 3 of Cups, 10 of Pentacles, Ace of Wands, 10 of Pentacles, 3 of Cups. So celebration, that's people supporting you, not draining you, supporting you. So whoever this is for, you have been the supporter for either in your intimate relationships, or you've been the supporter for many or for everyone in your life. And I know what that's like. That's all closing out now. And so learning the lesson, learning where you softened, where you should have stood, I don't want to say should, where you softened rather than held your energy, held your presence, held your ground, stood your ground, where you softened your authority for peace or for connection. So this is about where we trade pieces of ourselves to stay in connection. So yeah, so I'm getting some vision through. So this is about where there's been pieces of you that have been split off, where you've had to disown parts of yourself to stay in connection. This is a childhood wound. It's relational. It has showed up in every single one of your relationships, and it has followed you. No more, I just heard. But this is not just about you. This is not just about It's not just about the individual. This is something collective that's moving through, where the feminine is now cutting this off at the source or cutting it off at the root. The root of the issue is the system and structures that we've been raised in, the paradigm that relationships sit in, that women have been taught to operate within. We've been taught to soften our voice, soften our authority, to maintain stability at the expense of our own internally. And so that's the thing, what your nervous system always is going to tell the truth, right? And the thing is, right now, collectively, nervous systems are being tested. Everything's been revealed. So for a time, we could actually just squash things down, get on with it. Um, just bury ourselves in work or whatever. We could, adopt an identity or run from our issues, right? Everything's coming to the surface now collectively. This is what's happening spiritually in the energies, the collective energies. Nothing's hidden anymore. And nervous systems are on full display. So over the last 6 years, we've been through these huge awakenings and tests, like healings and tests, right? And there's been a lot of focus on nervous system regulation and healing because trauma is stored in the nervous system, right? So the thing is, with women like you, your nervous system has absorbed so much chaos that it is impossible to ignore it anymore. It is impossible to suppress it anymore. It is impossible to bury it down or to absorb or take on anymore. And so that's why things have come to a head in relationships. And for you, whoever you are that has experienced, the darkest depths of it with that, in that explosive, abusive, violent, like, that is nervous systems on display, right? That's showing where possibly that situation has come to a head. It feels like an explosive, like that kind of dynamic wasn't always present. It feels like it's come to a crescendo and then it's come to a explosive kind of that's a really good example of nervous systems being on display where you have here's where it is. You have chosen not to absorb that person's instability. You've chosen not to fill the gaps. So you might have withdrawn your energy or you might have decided to assert a boundary, and that has actually destabilized that person. Okay. And then their nervous system that you were propping up because you were absorbing all of that emotional tension, or you might have been, providing the stability energetically. It's like pulling a Jenga block out of a tower. The tower topples, right? So the lesson there, not that there should ever be a lesson learned in that way, but there is always a lesson. The lesson is about how much energy we are providing to someone who is not holding that equally or meeting us equally in that. You can't mop up someone's chaos. Like, you can't mop up someone's chaos with your nervous system. Like, that shit needs to stop. That's what's holding a lot of people back in this world, right? Ace of Pentacles. Like, there's a lot of people in this world, particularly women, with great vision, with big vision, big dreams and path, like fated paths, right? And they're being held back by the people around them. Now, whether that's intimate partners, or it could be family, or it could be people at work, it could be friends or groups, or whoever, whoever you're surrounding yourself with. If your nervous system has to work overtime just to be in connection with those people, your energy's being drained, right? You're not in your authentic energy. You're not in alignment. So this is about learning where you're overfunctioning emotionally, mentally, energetically, spiritually, relationally, right? In relationships, it's about relationships. So let's have a look. Let's bring it back down. I want to hone that back down. So we have the Ace of Wands, the Ten of Pentacles, Three of Cups. Big transformation. Your intuition might be blocked at the moment. Like you're feeling like you're in the dark. You just don't know which way forward. Holding on to something, still holding on to something, heartbreak, there's grief moving through. What if? Could it have been different? Page of Cups, maybe a little bit of kind of nostalgia, or it's like childlike kind of, it's a real innocence, like it's a real sweetness in you, where even though the situation was imbalanced and like possibly abusive, I'm not saying that for all, there's like still this, like, looking at it through a lens of rose-colored glasses is what I'm getting. And you can't do that, I just heard. You have to stop doing that. You have to accept things as they are and meet the energy where it's at. And it doesn't mean that you have to be cruel. But what's difficult for people like you and me is that it's in our nature to, like, we're nurturing by nature. We're kind and open and loving and giving by nature, right? And gentle and supportive and, understanding and forgiving, right? But that's been taken for a ride. That's been taken advantage of. And we have to learn how to protect that. And we have to learn how to match energy, right? And I don't mean match by getting spiraling into chaos or meeting anyone's toxic behavior. But if someone's not considering you, not supporting you, not giving you respect, and just bringing you chaos, it's time to withdraw energy. You can't meet that with more kindness, softness, love, or giving. You can't, because people will keep taking, and you just cycle. So out of the old into the new. All right. What else for this person I'm speaking to? Who is this? Block. Two of Cups, block. All in the reverse. A lot of confusion. You're very confused. I just said that and the moon came out. So that's like, could just be very emotional and not clear, like you don't have clarity. Sit in that, I'm hearing. It's in the sitting and processing of that and wading through the muck and the, like, figuratively wading through that. It's like when, here's what they're showing me. Water represents emotion, right? So when you have a cup of something and it's got like let's say it's got dirty water in it or something, dark, right? If you start pouring water into that cup, clear water, you can pour and pour and pour, right? And eventually it'll dilute that liquid, all right? And it'll kind of, it'll it's not a pretty process, right? But what happens is the old dirty liquid overflows over the side, and it takes a little bit of time as we pour the water in to actually clear that out. And eventually, what we end up with is a cup full of clean, clear water, right? Clarity. Okay, so this is where you've probably been stagnant. That's yes. Stuck emotion is what I'm getting. That's what they're showing me. You've had emotion that's been buried, stuck. You haven't had this, probably haven't had the safety to process that emotion. If we're in survival mode, we are not going to be able to heal and fully feel our emotions. We're not going to be able to, it's not going to feel safe enough to come into full nervous system regulation. And that's why, when you finally move on from a toxic situation, that's why it's not until you're out and you're like, oh, why am I so emotional? Like, that's all behind me now, because all of that emotion, everything that you had to shove down to survive, you now got to feel that, right? Your nervous system is like, okay, now we have to process it and clear it out. So that's what's happening there. That's what's happening. So it's the leaning into that. No joke. That came out in the reverse before, behind all the confusion, right? That's come out now in the upright, the Two of Cups. That is partnership. That's healthy, balanced partnership, right? Clarity, reciprocity, equality. That's two people meeting each other, right? When you get clear in your emotions, when you clear out that old energy. So it's going through the process of purging the old energy, purging the old emotion, purging the old hurt, the heartbreak, all of that, right? And not going back into those same cycles and cycling around and creating more of that. It's time to release it all. You got to feel it to heal it, and you don't want to, see? You don't want to. You're like, I don't want to because it doesn't feel nice. And no, it doesn't. I've just been through it. It's awful. The deeper you can feel, the more you are able to, as a woman, this is how we come into full embodiment and our full power, our full feminine power, feminine embodiment, right? The depth to which you can feel unapologetically, really lean into that and really be with yourself, really be fully in your body, fully in your experience, and show up for yourself. The depth to which you can sit in that and face that, that then is the height to which you can experience joy and presence, right? That is the height to which you can experience joy. It's like a rubber band, right? When you pull a rubber band right back, you put the further back you pull it, right? And sometimes it's like, oh shit, that's going to break. But if you get that tension point right and you snap it at it's going to propel so far forward and so fast. Okay. But we have to get to that point of tension where we feel like we're going to break and that's it. It's game over. That's heart opening. That's heart opening. Okay. So the star. Yeah. So that's you going into your future. That's star is healing. That's blessings. That's being aligned. She's pouring water there, see, but she's balancing it. She's got two jugs there and she's pouring 2 jugs of water. I don't know what that looks like, an ibis, but not really. Something about that. I think that is a representation of ibis. And so here's something that's coming in about that, because I've never looked at that before on this card. Ibis is sacred, right? Here in on the Australian continent, like people joke around and call them bin chickens because they're dirty, they're wandering around and they're like considered pests. But sacred ibises are sacred and they're very closely associated with the divine feminine. So back in ancient times, they were revered and held as sacred as a symbol of thee, divine feminine or sacred feminine. But what happened is their environment here, their environment was taken, right? So there was a whole lot of housing development and swamp and marshlands, and their natural environment was absolutely decimated, and they were forced out of the natural environment and forced to then scavenge for food, and they got dirty. And it's your classic colonization, right? That whole energy of having their homelands invaded and their environment decimated and being forced into trauma, into survival, right? But then they're pointed at and laughed at and ridiculed. And then there's a stigma around that, right? And I often liken that to being a single mother, right? I love ibises. I love ibises, and I will not allow anyone to treat them other than sacred. And I do not let my kids call them bin chickens. So there's a story for you from whoever that was for. Okay. Let's close out the reading now. I hope this has made sense. It's been a bit disjointed. I'm only just coming back into my connection and reading for you. 5 of Cups, 5 of Pentacles. Okay, so really leaning into the emotion and processing, the residual hurt, heartbreak, the regret, moving through all of that, staying with it, being present, and coming out of that like victim mentality. So we can actually really lean in and feel everything and acknowledge everything that we've been through, right? And feel the emotion and acknowledge the grief and you know, the give ourselves the support, the seeing, the support, the acknowledgement, the nurturing, the recognition for what we've been through without actually identifying with that as a victim story. And so the 5 of Pentacles in reverse is showing up to show us that we can actually find our way out of this situation, okay? 4 of Swords says resting. This is a transition and it's sacred. It's a sacred journey, right? The moon, there it is again. You're in the dark. You don't know. You're in the dark. It's emotional. You're confused, okay? But it's about the process. It's about the process of coming back to the now and honoring where you are at this time right now. Because the thing is, everything now is about our ability to maintain stability in outer chaos. Everything now is about moving forward in this world, right? Spiritually, energetically, the way things are shifting. People who are able to find stability in the most difficult situations are going to have that new foundation to be able to build and move forward in this new energy, right? Because you can feel, because you can acknowledge and accept and press. You're not suppressing anything, you're not shoving anything down, you're processing old hurt, old pain, you're releasing old stories, you're releasing old energy, right? When you want to move on from something, you don't just move on from it. It has to be processed and felt and really, truly reconciled. Okay. So wherever you've been holding on and refusing to go through that, or you haven't been able to, you're going to get the space to do that now, or you are in that now. You are actually in that right now. And so there's a fast moving energy coming in now. Something's going to bring you out of this, but it's as you just lean in and surrender. There's communication coming in, an 8 of Wands, which will release you. That's you going on a new journey now. That's you off on a new journey. I know what I want now. I know the cup that's missing. I know where I'm headed. You're leaving those cups behind, the empty cups, but we have to empty them first. We have to pour the water in and clean them and clear out all the old gunk, right? has to be done, has to be processed, because that's the truth, right? And if you carry that old hurt and old pain forward, your nervous system remembers that. And as your nervous system gets tested, all of that shit comes up to the surface. We're seeing that on the world stage. We're seeing that on the world stage right now. No one can hide their level of healing or their level of embodiment right now. There's safe people and there are ticking time bombs. Yeah, you've got your head, you want to move forward with something, you want to put work in somewhere, but you're feeling stuck. Yeah, and that's about stability. That's about you. That is actually God, divine spirit, your guides holding you in this, holding up your transformation, holding it up until you come into inner stability, right? Inner stability. That's you feeling stable within yourself, even though your outer reality might not yet be matching that, because this is how we build, this is how we create. We create our outer world now from our inner world. Okay? Everything is a projection of you. Everything you build in your world is an extension of you, of the vessel that you are and what is within you energetically, right? And if we're all gummed up with old emotions and old unprocessed pain and hurt, and we're still cycling in the same cycles and we haven't learned and let go, we'll just create the same again. So that's protection. What you're in now is protection. It's protecting you. So let's finish up with just an affirmation from the Feminine Wisdom Oracle. What is the guidance for this beautiful woman watching, listening right now? Success, boo. That's you. Accomplishment of one's goals. You're nearly there. Feel it to heal it. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. You know where you're going, right? It's just letting go, surrendering into, and letting your energy realign to match where you're going, right? That's alignment. When your inner world is aligned, when your inner world, your energy, your boundaries, your belief systems, all of that, right? When that is all in alignment, it has to match. You can't move into a new timeline or future direction or manifestation or dream or vision if you're not matching that internally, right? With the way that the way you are at your beliefs and the stories you're telling yourself and how you're showing up in the world. Are you still showing up in a way that, that dilutes you, that suppresses you? Are you still having to give away parts of yourself to show up in connection? Because if that's the case, you're not going to be handed a higher path, because that will sabotage absolutely everything. So it's like the delay is protection. It wasn't punishment, it was preparation. What you went through was preparation to hold what's coming in for you now, and it's yours. It's yours by divine right. Yeah. The energy of intimacy, we'll finish with this. The energy of intimacy supports us trusting that we are safe to allow closeness. Okay. So this is about our boundaries and the way that we show up, in the way that we know that we can show up in the world in a way that, hang on, how do I want to say that? Let me say that again. When our boundaries are solid and when we have done the inner work and the healing to create safety for ourselves, particularly around speaking our truth and overcoming stories that we're telling ourselves and having healthy boundaries, right? You might have had to cut people out of your life. You might have had to speak some difficult truths, and it might have shifted some relationships in your world, right? But the more we do that and show up authentically, the more we are able to show up in a deeper and more real and more rewarding way in the relationships that we have. So if you are someone who's looking for deeper intimacy, if you're looking for love, or if you're looking for community, or you might be building something, or you're just looking for deeper connection. Intimacy is not just in like your relationship just between two people. Intimacy shows up everywhere. We can have intimacy with nature. In nature, when we're sitting in nature, we can have intimacy with ourselves. We can have intimacy with others in group. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be a physical thing, right? Intimacy is the way that we feel closeness, the way that we feel seen, the way that we are able to show up and feel safe in our full authentic expression, express our desires and have them met. So there you go. It's about intimacy and feeling safe to show up in that way in the world and experience the world in a different way rather than to have our guard up, because that's about us. Really, it comes down to us. No one is going to save us. The only one who is going to save you is the version of you that is sick of your own shit, the version of you that has had enough. That is who is coming to save you. And that is who needs to show up in the world. I love you so much.